Today I learned about a very useful git command, and maybe you might find it useful as well. So let's say I have this code base here, which is a project I'm working on with a couple of developers. And I'm making certain changes to index.js and many other files. But for some reason, I want to make a temporary change to app.jsx. Maybe I want to add some login, or I want to temporarily remove a particular feature so I can test my own feature, or I want to mock some data, or I want to do some stuff. But these are not changes that I want to include when I am committing the changes for my feature. But what we currently have here now is that if I do git status, you can see we have app.jsx where I made this change that has nothing to do with my own feature. I just added this temporarily. Now, having something like this, I could mistakenly, and this is something I have done a couple of times, I could mistakenly do git add dot to add everything and then commit. And then when I create a pull request and I found out that, oh, I introduced a file I shouldn't have introduced, then I have to remove that from the commit and push again. Or sometimes I actually push it and then discover much later that I introduced some changes that had nothing to do with that feature, which means now I have to be very cautious that whenever I want to make a commit, I should always come here and delete this so that I don't forget. Then when I need it again, I come back and I add it. But before I commit, I remove it again. That's just it's just a lot of work. But with git skip worktree, I can simply tell Git that, hey, I want you to skip this file, src app.jsx. Now this is different from gitignore. With this skip worktree, I'm telling Git that for this particular file, don't update, don't track the local changes. From what I have learned, there are some cases where it's going to make changes to that file. Let's say maybe you are doing a rebase, or maybe in the case of a merge conflict, then Git would remember that file. But aside that, we're telling Git temporarily, forget about this file for now. Don't track this file for now. So when I do git status, what you see now is that this is the only file that Git is keeping track of. So that way I can add my debugging logs, I can add my mocks, disable a particular feature, do whatever I want to do. But whenever I do git add this, it's never going to add that file to the staging area to be committed. Now let's say I actually want to make a change in app.jsx that I want to commit an important change. Now obviously Git doesn't know about this file, so I can do git update index no-skip-worktree for this file src app.jsx. And now if I do git status, you can see now I have this file and I have other files that I have changed. Discovering this feature today was one of the highlights of my day, to be honest, because in my company code base there are certain things that I want to disable temporarily, and I found myself changing some of those files and then mistakenly committing them and later having to remove them again. But with this, I can say if there is a particular file that has nothing to do with my features, but I might be making some changes there in the meantime, then I can just skip this temporarily, and when I'm ready in the future, I can add it back.